anew our commitment to diligently fulfilling every component of our electoral pact with the people, the Renew Hope agenda. We shall be faithful to truth, faithful to equity, and faithful to justice. We shall exercise our authority, our mandate to govern with fairness.
To reflect on the country's journey to becoming a democratic society.
We are not practicing democracy because when we were in school, they told us that democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and what? The people. But as it relates to the past elections, we voted, but our voice weren't heard. It's very, very obvious.
There is no war, nothing. It's very, see, you can look around. Everything is peaceful. We don't do democracy in war, so we are okay. And government, the way we see the new government, we are hope that everything is better.
Apologies on that. We will give you the full report in subsequent bulletin. But still with the news, as Nigeria marks the 30th anniversary of the June 12, 1993 presidential poll, stakeholders, analysts and citizenry are calling on government to be more sensitive to the need of Nigerians and the country. They said the history of democracy in Nigeria cannot be completed without mentioning the sacrifice of Chief MKO Abiola, who laid down his life for his people and the country at large, thereby urging Nigeria present leaders to emulate him in their various positions and status. While speaking with the Voice of the People, Radio 96.1 Abuja, residents of Abuja expressed their sadness on how the country has been governed for the past 30 years, and they also hope that the new government of Chief MKO Abiola, its spokesman Debo Ologunagba, in a statement issued by the party, he urged Nigerians to use the time of the celebration to demand the entrenchment of democratic doctrines in the nation's polity, and not to despair, but to remain optimistic and law-abiding in their hope for a better nation. The party also described it as offensive, distasteful, and unacceptable for the nation to observe the Democracy Day under a system that violated all the tenets of democracy, as witnessed in the brazen rigging that characterized the 2023 general elections. The party then charged all the leaders across the country to be guided by the essence of the 2023 elections by always adhering to the principles of democracy in the overall interest of the Nigerian people. Away from Democracy Day celebrations, the Department of State Services has seized the passport and may search the home and office of the suspended Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele. Following his suspension as a result of the ongoing investigation of his office and the planned reforms in the financial sector, the service arrested Emefiele in Lagos and flew him to Abuja. Peter Afunanya, the spokesperson for the service, in a statement said Emefiele had been taken into custody and was under investigation. However, a source in the DSS has said it was standard procedure for his travel documents to be seized pending the conclusion of the ongoing investigation, and added that the office and residence of the suspended bank governor would be searched. While reacting to EFCC arrest of Emefiele, a senior advocate of Nigeria, that is SAN, Femi Falana, has warned Department of State Services, that is the DSS, against mishandling ongoing investigation of suspended Central Bank of Nigeria, that is the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. Falana warned DSS not to bungle the case on legal technicalities, and Emefiele should be transferred to custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that is the EFCC, which has the legal right to prosecute offenders. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board will decide a cutoff for 2023 admissions into tertiary institutions on June 24, 2023. The event, which will hold at the National Judicial Institute, will have in attendance all heads of tertiary institutions and regulatory bodies such as the National Universities Commission, that is the NUC, National Board for Technical Education, that is the NBTE, among others, with only 2 representatives each from respective tertiary institutions. In the weekly bulletin by the Director of Public Affairs, JAM, Fabian Benjamin, the board said the meeting is expected to chart policy directions for the nation's tertiary institutions, set admission guidelines, present and analyze application statistics and candidates' performance, in addition to evaluating the 2023 admission exercise. Furthermore, the The meeting would decide the acceptable minimum admissible score to be applied in all admissions to be undertaken by all tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Reports show that in 2022, the meeting granted institutions the power to set their minimum allowable cutoff marks for admission, which they cannot go below once adopted and general concessions are reached. You are listening to the World News at 6 and Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja. And now let's get on to the foreign scene. On the foreign scene, former United States President Donald Trump is expected to travel to Miami today to meet with his lawyers ahead of his Tuesday court appearance. He faces a total of 37 counts in a federal indictment related to his handling of classified documents after he left office. According to reports, former President Trump is first United States president to face federal charges. Trump, who denies any misconduct, protested against the charges in his first public remarks since the indictment was unsealed. The White House has declined to comment as Trump and his allies paints the case as politically motivated. And now let's get on to Ukraine and have you know that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said over 2,000 Ukrainians have been returned in prisoner of war exchanges since the start of the Russian invasion. Russia and Ukraine exchanged more than 200 prisoners of war on Sunday, according to official statements from Moscow and Kiev. According to the presidential aide Andriy Yermak, Ukraine's 95 returnees included prisoners of war captured on Snake Island and from the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol, among a number of different locations. He also said that every time they bring their people back from Russian captivity, they remember their fundamental goal and will not leave anyone or nothing of Ukraine's to the enemy. And now let's talk sports. AC Milan have paid tributes to former owner Silvio Berlusconi following the death at the age of 86. The club, under his leadership, won 5 European Cups as well as 8 Italian league titles. In a statement, Milan thanked him, adding that it was grieving the passing of the unforgettable Silvio Berlusconi. Brentford and England striker Ivan Toney says missing the World Cup was a bigger blow than the 8-month ban he is serving for breaking betting rules. Toney, who admitted to 232 breaches of Football Association regulations, was charged in November and missed out on a place in England's squad for the 2022 World Cup tournament in Qatar. The striker, who was given a reduced ban because of diagnosed gambling addiction, can return to training with Brentford in mid-September but cannot play again until January. Brentford have also vowed to help Toney, while England manager Gareth Southgate said it was important to support the player during his time away from the game. And now to wrap up, here are the top stories. Tinubu promises to ease subsidy removal pains. Nigerians demand to straighten democracy. PDP says INEC APC dishonored MKO Abiola's memory. Falana asks DSS to transfer Emefiele to EFCC. JAM to decide cut-off for tertiary institutions. And on the foreign scene, we told you Donald Trump heads to Miami ahead of court appearance. And in sports, we brought to you